Europe has now released their follow-up to the incredibly successful Final Countdown album called Out of the Blue.
The basic form of the band was formed in 1980, and we were called Force. We were playing outside Stockholm, and with a lot of influences from British and English hard rock, like UFO, Thin Lizzy, Rainbow, Deep Purple, and also American bands like Kansas and Journey and all that. 1982, we won a big rock contest, and which gave us the opportunity to record our first album. And that was called Europe. It was released in 1983. And what happened? A lot of touring in Scandinavia. 1984, we recorded the second album, Wings of Tomorrow, which is the previous one. This, a few of the songs made CBS interested, so we concluded a deal with them for the Final Countdown album, which was released last year in May.
You make it sound so easy, was it in fact? was it in fact that easy?
No, it took some time. I mean, we started in 1980, and for a couple of years we rehearsed a lot, just didn't play many gigs. Me and John go way back. We were in the original setup, and these guys have been you've been living close.
Yeah, we're from the same area, just north of Stockholm, Sweden.
And
I'm the outsider. I don't really like these guys at all.
There's no doubt about it. The hottest country star of the 80s is Randy Travis. Now, he's got 3 albums to his credit, over 30 awards, and is the youngest male artist to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry.
I started playing guitar, taking guitar lessons, you know, and singing at the same time when I was about 8 years old. And, yeah, my brother, who is only a year older than I am, was doing the same thing. But he didn't care to sing that much. He didn't enjoy singing. He was a lead player, and I played rhythm. And I did most of the singing because he just didn't, he wouldn't do it to start with. And so we worked together from the time I was 9 till I was about 16, working square dances. We played, are you familiar with fiddlers conventions? Yes. We played a lot of those, and private parties for people. And then we kind of went separate ways as we got older, and but he's still doing some around the Carolinas.
The latest album is Old 8 by 10. It's a crossover success, and although nowadays he can do no wrong, it wasn't always easy.
Of course, I got turned down to start with by every label in town, you know. It said we weren't doing exactly what there was a call for. And then when it started making a comeback, we got signed to Warner Brothers because we were doing this kind of music, and this is what we wanted to do. I was glad to see it start coming back, and I think we're doing, say, what we're doing, what George Strait's doing, a lot of the music, Reba McEntire again. I think it's just music that, say, Merle and George would have done 10 years ago. Well, one break was when I met my manager, and which she's been managing my career for over 10 years now. And another good thing was moving to Nashville. You know, that was kind of a break there. And then once being in Nashville, getting to know the people at Warner Brothers Records, that was another break. Of course, being signed to Warner Brothers was the biggest thing. You know, several breaks, I guess you'd say, through the past 10 years. Be 75 years old, I hope I can be singing then. I don't want to keep up quite the pace we're doing right now, but I hope I can sing for a long time to come. I don't know what other parts of the music business I'd like to get into other than singing and writing, and that keeps me busy right at the moment.
Well, Guns N' Roses recently topped the album charts in the United States, and we predict the single Sweet Child of Mine is going to duplicate that success. With me tonight is Slash. You know, now that you're a commercial success, is the record company going to insist on anything for your next album?
The record company can't insist on anything. I mean, that's the agreement we made. That's why we signed with Geffen in the first place. We wanted to do things our way. We didn't want anybody trying to rewrite our material. We didn't want a producer that was going to try and rewrite our material, which is why we hired an engineer to produce the album instead of an actual producer. The next one's just, I mean, we're going to go in and start writing it probably in September, October, we'll start writing it, and we're putting it together. And when we go into pre-production, it'll just be the 5 of us with no outside influence at all. You know, no one's even allowed to hang out. So it won't be a problem, you know. And like, I mean, the stuff we got away with in our first record, I mean, there's profanity all over it. None of the songs have what you'd call commercial arrangements. So, and it did it as well as it's done. So it's going to be like, you know, you can't tell us what to do because we did what we wanted on the first one and it worked. So what are you going to say? There's nothing we can do about it. So that's the great thing about this album doing so well, is it's so against the grain and the norm, you know, that the fact that it sold as many as it has and it's been doing so well is sort of like giving everybody the finger that said we couldn't, you know.
You've had both critical and public acceptance on your current album. Have you got any predictions for the next one?
The next album will start out, you know, and they'll probably rip it to pieces because we're now commercially acceptable. You know, before we were like this punk garage band, you know, and so that made us cool. And, you know, I never worry about it. The press is something you can't worry about.
Do you guys read the press?
Depends. I mean, certain publications tend to lie a lot, you know. The only time I really pay attention is if I go into a 7-Eleven or something and I see a circus magazine or whatever, so I'll flip through it and look at the terrible pictures of me and go, I wish they hadn't printed that, but, you know, it just comes and goes. It hasn't been too bad. I mean, there's, you know, the worst thing that happens, really, I mean, is you're out of town, and if you have a girlfriend back home, she reads, like, certain publication that talks about all the girls you're with on the road. So you get this phone call in the middle of the night at a hotel, and she's yelling at you, because, you know, it's
Now that you're so much in demand and so busy, I'm curious, how easy does writing come to you now?
It's very spontaneous. I wrote a lot of material during a break that we had and put that on tape. I write stuff constantly, like at the gig, after sound check, I just play my guitar up until we go on stage. And then I write in the hotel rooms and stuff. We write a lot, you know, and whenever Axl gets, you know, motivated to do something, you know, something sparks him, he just, you know, pens it down. It's not that hard. The hardest part is trying to collaborate when we're on the road. So we don't collaborate a lot. You know, we'll collaborate when we get off and have time to settle down and really do it. Yeah.
The heavy metal when you were a kid, or how'd you get into it?
Compared to like most of my so-called peers and stuff, I'm a real exception because I came up in the music business. My family was in the music business. So I was always around music, and I was very musical as a kid, I suppose. You know, I mean, you can always tell if you're into music by being able to pick out what you like and don't like when you're 3 years old or something like that. So I always, you know, just really liked music. It was just a natural progression to start playing, you know, and I was just really into the bands that were around in the 70s and stuff, which is, you know, likewise with the rest of the guys in the group. Basically, I just was really into guitar and just started and was real diligent about it. And I wasn't even working at any goal. It was really strange, you know. I wasn't like working towards, you know, having this major band or selling a lot of records or anything. I just wanted to be a good guitar player and just wanted to have a band and was real naive about it. Just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept getting better and better, you know, until it got to this point.
When you were growing up, when you were a kid, who were you listening to?
The main bands that I still listen to, that I grew up with, were like Led Zeppelin, The Stones, The Who, Aerosmith, Cheap Trick, AC/DC, you know, all that stuff that was around Ted Nugent. But then there was a lot of other stuff that I grew up around, which was like a lot of classical, because my parents used to listen to a lot of classical, and Joni Mitchell, and, you know, just like really Minnie Riperton, like all these off-the-wall people that I just really liked. So my basic influence, more or less, is like a lot of the hard rock bands, but then I like a lot of different stuff, and that all sort of leaves its mark on you subconsciously when you listen to music.
All right, tell me about all the guys in the band now. Are you close?
People are really amazed how close we are and how we deal with each other, because it's not like a business where you have to work on some sort of democracy or anything. It's just that we work together. We're very conscious of everybody else. Axl's like the moody one. He's real moody, but real sensitive, you know, and real into what he's doing, and real honest, real sincere. Like, he wouldn't put a word in a song that just because it would rhyme, you know what I mean? And he won't put a word in a song because it's generic or a cliche. He just refuses to. Izzy's just real quiet and to himself, you know, rides his bike around. You don't see him that much, you know, but he's real cool. Steven's like the David Lee Roth type, real loud and sort of silly, but a sweet guy. And Duff's the guy I hang out with the most because he's like the jovial drunk, and we go out and it's like no big deal. We just hang out in bars and stuff together, you know. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really know what I'm like. Yeah, I'm just me. But, you know, we work together real good.